Right, the World Cup starts today. I've got my water. I've got the groups in front of me. Don't know if these predictions are going to age horribly wrong or maybe brilliant, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. Going to go through each group and determine who comes first, second, best third place teams as well, and maybe some players to watch out for along the way. So, starting off with Group A, which I have finishing first, is Mexico. I just think that home support, with it being over in the States, Canada, and Mexico, and they're going to be playing a few games, I think, at the Aztec Stadium. So I think that home support will get them first spot. And player Ochoa, can you believe he's still playing, the goalkeeper with the mad curly hair? Unreal. I think they had an injury crisis. I know he got called up, and I think he might even end up starting. We'll see tonight anyway. But I've them first. I've got maybe surprisingly the Czech Republic. I've got them second. They actually beat my country, Ireland, in the qualifiers, and I don't know. I just have a strange feeling that they'll actually do well in the group. I'm looking at the centre back that they have for. He plays for Wolves, Krejci, and I know they got relegated this season, but I was actually quite impressed. And in that qualifier as well against Ireland, he really stepped up, put in a captain's performance. He's only young. I think he got given the captaincy. I think it was handed to him from Suchek to him. And yeah, I think he could be one to watch out for in the tournament. Maybe might even get a move afterwards, especially with Wolves going down. Um, Third position, I've got South Korea. Obviously, heavily reliant on Son still, and he's pushing on. I think he's playing over in the States now with LA. But yeah, I still think they'll get through. I think they'll be one of the best third place teams. And fourth position, I've got South Africa. No, I don't know the quality of like the standard of league in the South African Premier League, but I know a lot of their squad play for Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns. Um, Again, I don't know the quality of it, but I'm looking at it, in comparison to the other teams in the group, and I just feel like they could finish bottom. No disrespect to them, but they'll definitely bring the vibes, those fans. Um, Group B. First, I have Switzerland. Again, just a solid outfit. Granit Xhaka coming off a brilliant season for Sunderland. Like he had many years at my club Arsenal where he was kind of I don't know. He finished his Arsenal career well, but a lot of people hated him during his time. But there's no doubt he's a brilliant midfield player, and I think he was probably used in the wrong position for us with the wrong tactics. But anyway, that's a different story. Um, you know, won the with Leverkusen not so long ago, went unbeaten in the league. So he just a very experienced player. Very experienced player, brilliant player that can just get a hold of the ball and keep the team ticking. So I've got them first. Canada, when you think of Canada, I just think of Alfonso Davies. I'm actually trying to sign him in Football Manager at the moment, but he's looking for a lot of money. But that's a different story again. I think he usually plays in the midfield for Canada, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, he'll be, the main guy that to be looking at. Jonathan David as well, striker who was with Lille, quite prolific at Lille, I think, but since he's moved to Juventus, I think he's had a struggle of a season. But yeah, they'll be, looking to him to get the goals. Third, I have Bosnia and Herzegovina. Edin Dzeko still playing. Can you believe that? Madness. I think he's like over 40 now. Still getting call ups to the squad, and yeah, I have them finishing third, and I actually think that they might be one of the third place teams to not make it. Um, there's only going to be four, I think, out of the 12 that won't make it, so I have them as one of them. And last in the group, I've got Qatar. I think they actually exceeded a lot of people's expectations in the last World Cup. They didn't win the game, but I think everyone thought that they were going to get battered, and I don't think they did. I think they lost. I think they lost all three games, but they didn't kind of go out with a whimper or anything. But I think with the quality of the other teams, I'd still have them to finish fourth, bottom of the group. unfortunately. Group C, first place, I actually have Morocco. I think I'd actually have them as nearly my dark horses in the tournament. Like, they, I think they're technically the AFCON winners with all that controversy with that game against Senegal in the final. But um, yeah, like they had a great World Cup 4 years ago. Got to the semi-finals. I think lost out to, was it France in the semi-finals. Um, and yeah, I don't know. They bring a lot of energy. Um, Really good defensive side from what I remember in that from 4 years ago. Um, and yeah, I've lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, but they've got this midfield player who I'll be looking out for. His name is Buadi. I know that Arsenal have been linked with him. Um, I haven't seen him play, but World Cup is a great opportunity to see players that you haven't seen play before. So I'll be looking out for him. He could be one to watch out for. Second place, I've got Brazil. No doubt, when you look at their team on paper, like it looks incredible. But I see a lot of individuals in the team, and I don't know. I'm not sure if they will. You'd fully expect them to come first in the group, but I have them second. And yeah, they're one of the teams now I'm going to be kind of more paying attention to and seeing, their earlier games, and then I'll probably be able to make a judgment on, will I think they go far or not. But I have them second. Carlo Ancelotti, no doubt the best manager that's probably at the tournament, but it's international football. It's different at club level, so we'll see how he gets on and how he can manage, to get the team playing in a cohesive, unit than just individuals, like I said. So then second, third, I've got Scotland. I think they'll actually still get through as one of the best third place teams. I have to mention Craig Gordon in goal. I think he's the oldest player at the tournament, 43, I'm sure, and I think he might even start. So fair play to him, playing at that age, on the world stage. Credit to you, man. Last, I've got Haiti, and actually, weirdly enough, when I was looking at their team, they've actually got a few players that I recognised. That Bellegarde fella for Wolves in the midfield, I actually liked him a few times when I've seen him playing for Wolves. And they've got Isidore as well for Sunderland. He's scored a few goals in the Premier League this season. So yeah, even though I have them last, I still think they might show a bit of quality and surprise a few people. Group D, I've got first Turkey, player to watch out for. There's actually a few. You've got that Yildiz fella for Juventus, and obviously Arda Güler, Real Madrid player. Very, very good player. I don't know if he'll make it at Madrid. So maybe he might be in the shop window this summer, and teams might take a punt on him. So yeah, I've got them first. The USA, then I have them second. I'm not so sure on them though. I know they've got Pochettino as their manager, and again, I think I'm kind of leaning on the fact that they've got the home advantage. So I'm going to have them second. A player I'll be looking out for is Balogun, the striker for Monaco who used to play for Arsenal. I remember at the time there was a lot of backlash about us selling him, and I don't know, since he's moved there, I don't know if he's actually like pulled up any trees or anything, but I've never really heard of anyone saying since he's moved that, like, oh geez, we should have never sold him. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, I'll be looking out for him in the tournament. Paraguay, I've got third. They've actually got a couple of players again. Enciso, who used to play for Brighton, I think. I've seen him whip one in the top in there a few times in the Premier League. Another player that currently plays for Brighton, Diego Gomez, very industrious player, very physical player. From what I've seen, I think he got a bad injury against Tottenham there earlier in the season. I'm surprised he's actually in the squad, but yeah, I've actually liked what I've seen from him this season. And in fourth, I've got Australia. I actually spent the last year in Australia, and really enjoyed my time there. But the football still has a bit to go there in the country to, for the standard to increase. I actually went to a Park Glory game. They were playing Melbourne, I think, when I was over there. And would you believe Douglas Costa, the Brazilian who used to play for Juventus, he came on, and that was a bit of a shock. But yeah, the game that I went to that time, it was awful. Finished 0-0. Just the quality of play was just not to the standard. And but I think in the future, I think Australia will get better. The game is growing out there. I can see from what I could see anyway. So yeah, I have them last, unfortunately. Group E, I have first Ecuador. I actually think I think they could be on for a good tournament. I was looking at their core, like they've got Hincapié and Pacho. I think they probably be the centre backs. I don't know if Hincapié actually will play left back for. Well, actually no, he won't, because I think Estupinian. Am I remembering that right? Estupinian, is he Ecuador? I think he is. I don't know. I didn't fact check this, but regardless, they've got Pacho and Capier and Caicedo as well. That's a good core there. And yeah, I don't know. I expect them to be dogged out, and they still have that Enner Valencia fellow up top. I don't know if he'll actually start for them, but I've seen him in tournaments in the past in the World Cup and actually perform well. Second, I've actually got Germany. I know many people would probably think they will come first, but I have them second. Player to look out for them. I don't know if he'll get many minutes considering the attacking talent they have. Musiala, Karl, Havertz, Sane, whatever. But the striker called Bayer he plays for Dortmund. I was very impressed with him from what I've seen this season. Looks a good player, so I'll be watching out for him. Ivory Coast, I have third. Still think they'll get through. The guy I'll be watching is Diomande. I think everyone, I personally, I don't think I've actually seen the guy play, but I'm hearing quotes of like 100 million for him, and I think Liverpool and PSG are linked. So yeah, will his stocks rise or maybe even come down as the tournament progresses? We'll find out, but I'm looking forward to seeing him play and actually see if the hype is real. Fourth, bottom of the group, I've got, take a drink. I've got how do you actually pronounce it? Curacao, I think. Yeah, again, I think it's their first World Cup. You wouldn't really expect much of them. Although when I was doing research, I saw they actually have former United player Chong. I think he plays up top, Tahith Chong. So yeah, look out for him. He'd be a familiar face. Group F. First, I have Japan. I'm actually looking forward to seeing Japan in the tournament. I don't know if you actually remember like the last World Cup, but there was in the group stage with, I think it was Japan, Germany, Spain, and Costa Rica, and there was one stage like going into the final group game that when the games were on, there was one stage when I think Japan and Costa Rica were going through, and Germany and Spain were going out. No, it changed in the end. I think Japan and Spain ended up going through. Germany actually missed out, but I don't know. I'm just I really like Japan. I know they're going to miss Mitoma, but they've got other players like that Kamada for Crystal Palace. I actually really like him. Good player. Tanaka for Leeds, good player. But yeah, I just always feel like Japan kind of do well in World Cups, so I'm going to be kind of half supporting them, I'd say, because I do really do like the Japanese teams, the energy that they bring, and I think they actually have a bit of quality and good. They've got a good solid squad there, I think. Second, I've got the Netherlands. Player I'll be actually watching out for here is maybe one that, like we all know, like this is the thing with football. Sometimes it's like the player kind of comes out of a bit of form and people think like they're poor now again. But the first time I actually saw Reinders, that's the fellow who I'm actually getting to play, was the last tournament when I think Frankie de Jong got injured, and it opened up the possibility of Reinders getting into the team and actually getting into the 11, and that's where I first noticed him, and I was like, wow, he's actually a really good player. So there's a lot of competition there in the midfield for the Dutch, so I don't know will he even be a regular starter, but I'll be watching out for him in the tournament. Third, I've got Sweden. fair play to Graham Potter in coming in and rescuing their qualifying campaign, and it's a miracle that they're actually in the tournament. I think their luck will run out. I have them third, and I have them as one of the third place teams that won't make it. Um, Obviously, they've got Isaac, Elanga, Gyökeres, a couple of some really good attacking talent there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about the rest of the squad, so I have them in third. Fourth, I have Tunisia. Just one player for Tunisia is possibly to watch out for is a guy called Khalil Ayari. I think they signed him on loan to the PSG B team or underage team. So maybe like PSG took a shot on him. He's only a young player, but he could be a player to maybe just keep an eye on if he does get minutes. Group G then is I've got first. I've actually got a shock in this one. First, I've got Egypt. Of course, everyone's going to be relying on Mohamed El Neni. I'm only joking, Mohamed Salah. El Neni's not even in the squad, I don't think. But of course, Salah's the main man there. A player to watch out for is Hamza Abdel. I'm butchering the name here, guys. I'm sorry, but Hamza Abdel Karim. He plays with the Barcelona B team, so could be one to watch out for. In second, I actually have Iran, and not to delve too much into the politics of the situation with the World Cup. I think it would actually be quite fitting if Iran were to make it out of the group, and I'm gonna have them second, even though really I don't know if I fully believe it, because I actually have Belgium third. Just going back to Iran, actually, Taremi up top, he scored 60 goals in 105 games. So he's their main guy that they'll be, hoping will be able to score the goals. Belgium, as I said there, I have them in third. I actually have them as the flops of the tournament. I don't know. I've something about Belgium. They had that golden generation, never really lived up to it. A lot of them have gone now. They still have Kevin De Bruyne, Lukaku, Tielemans, Onana, a couple of other players. But I don't know. I've never really. I might be just remembering wrong, but I can only remember once Belgium getting far in a tournament. I don't know, was it a Euros or World Cup? I think it could have been a Euros. But they've often kind of underachieved, for the amount of talent they have in the squad. So yeah, unfortunately, I have them third. But I still think they'll get through as one of the best third teams. Fourth place, I have New Zealand. I don't expect too much of them. Obviously, they have Chris Wood up top. But the rest of the team are really unknown. And yeah, I don't really expect much of New Zealand now, to be honest with you. Stick to the rugby, I'd say. Group H, first I have Spain. Obviously, they're actually probably. I'll do another prediction video once the group stage is done, but if I'm saying it now, they are my favourites for the tournament. But I'll be watching out for Lamine Yamal. I mean, he's up there, one of the best players in world football. Obviously, he kind of come to the international stage in the Euros, just gone, and with Spain beat England in the final, didn't they? Yeah. So, but he had a brilliant tournament. In that tournament. But yeah, I have in second place Uruguay. Going to be watching out for Valverde for Real Madrid. Obviously, when he's playing for Real Madrid, amongst all the whatever kind of Galacticos, current Galacticos they have now, he often doesn't really stand out. But I think he's such a quality player, and I think he's got so much ability. And you might see it more in a Uruguay side, than a Real Madrid side. So yeah, I'll be looking out for him. Third, I have Saudi Arabia. I think they pretty much all play in Saudi Arabia, the whole squad except for one player that plays for Lens. But yeah, I don't know. You can't forget as well that they beat Argentina in the last World Cup. It was the first game, wasn't it, when they shocked Argentina, and they could shock people again. I have them as third and to get through. And fourth spot, I've got Cape Verde. The only thing I'll say on them is that I think it's their first World Cup, and they've actually got a player playing for them that plays for Shamrock Rovers, Roberto Lopez, and I think his nickname is Pico. They have, so yeah, that'll be mad if he got any minutes in the tournament. Group I've got first France, of course, kind of obvious one really. I think France, heavily expected to go far, far in the tournament, but player, obviously amongst all their attacking talent that they have, Doué and Bele, Mbappe, just like so many options. What I'll be looking out for is Akliouche. I think he plays for Monaco, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, I could be wrong on that now, but I've heard his name pop up a good few times, and there's a lot of people kind of praising him. So I don't know if he'll get much minutes in the tournament, but he's someone that I'll be looking out for, and seeing the hype. Does he live up to the hype? Second place, I've got Senegal. Again, with that whole AFCON like story, really they are the winners, but I got taken off them. But I think that story. I think with Morocco and Senegal, I think they really are probably the two best African teams. And I expect Senegal to come second. The player to watch out for is Mbaye for PSG, and obviously Mane. Mane is their kind of main man. But third, then I have Norway. I'm not really sure on Norway. Like they obviously have Haaland and they have Odegaard. Couple of other players maybe to watch out for. They had good seasons for Bodo Glimt, who went really far in the Champions League this season. Is Berg, and I'm going to butcher pronunciation, Hauge, Hauge. Sorry if I butcher that, lads. But yeah, they had great seasons for Bodo Glimt, and they could be ones to watch out for in the tournament. But I'm not sure about the rest of the squad. The defense and the midfield. I'm not too sure on them. But fourth, then I have Iraq, and the only thing I'll mention with them is they have a player playing from called Sedan Iqbal, which for some strange reason, my eyes kind of just, when I saw the name, I was drawn to it when I was looking at the squad list, and I think he played for Man United as well. I think he might have maybe only played one game, I'm not sure, but yeah, that's the only kind of player I could recognize from that squad. Group J, first I have Argentina. Can they retain the trophy? I'm not so sure, but I think they will come first in the group. The fella I'll be watching out for is Nico Paz. I think he was on loan with Como from Real Madrid. I don't know if they've actually signed him permanently. I don't know. I'll have to double check that. But I actually seen him in the flesh. I seen him play when I went to an Inter Milan against Como game there at the end of last year, and I'll be honest, he didn't really kind of stand out in the game. I think it was a tough game, to be honest. Inter Milan absolutely battered him that day, but he's really been raved about a lot, Nico Paz, and again, I'll be watching out for him to see if if the hype is kind of real. Will he get much minutes? That's another question, but I hope he does, because there is a lot of potential there with him, and a lot of people speaking highly of him. Second, I've got Austria. They actually have a guy up top called Sasa Kalajic. I'll have to start improving my pronunciation, lads. I apologize, but bear with me. I remember him actually playing for Wolves. Now, he didn't play many games for Wolves, but there was a few times where he was up top, and this guy is an absolute unit. He is ridiculously tall, lanky, a handful. So yeah, I'll be watching out for him in the tournament. Third in that group, I have Algeria, and just one guy really to kind of keep an eye on maybe here is a guy called Anis Haj Musa. He plays for Feyenoord, and just looking at his numbers this season, he's kind of like a 1-in-3 man. So he's done a fairly good job this season. So I think he's only young, well, maybe only about 22, 23, I'm not sure. But yeah, I have them third, and fourth I have Jordan. I think it's their first World Cup. And again, like, fair play for qualifying, but I don't expect them to do much. Group K, I have this is the second last group, lads. First, I have Portugal. I'd have them up there as well. Like, if you look at that midfield, like Vitinha, Joe Neves, Bernardo Silva, um, Bruno Fernandes, like they've got arguably on paper the best midfield. And in that heat to be able to kind of keep the ball, that's what I'm thinking. Like, with some of the games and some of the conditions, I think that could prove key. But for them in the group stage, I'm going to be looking at a winger actually, Quince Sao. I think he was with Porto. I think he's with Juventus now. But he's kind of like a tricky, direct, fast winger from what I remember. I'll be watching out for him. And second place, I've got Colombia, Daniel Munoz. Guys, I don't like. I can't understand why more people don't have him in fantasy football. For those of you that play fantasy football, he's like a cheat code. Like, he's literally playing like right wing for Crystal Palace every week, getting me loads of points that many people have missed out on. But anyway, that's a different story again. Yeah, I've got Colombia second, and I think they can actually do well in this tournament. Again, South American team. Third, I've got DR Congo. They've actually got a couple of like recognizable faces in their squad. Aro Wan-Bissaka, Twanzebe, Wissa, and they've actually got a player there. I don't know if you even remember him, guys. Maybe people that know their stuff do. They have a fella, Gail Kakuta. I don't know if you remember him, but he was once upon a time at Chelsea, and I think he's gone on 10 to 15 different loan spells since. But he's he's going to be rocking out for DR Congo. Fourth spot, I don't really know much about them, but I just, in comparison to other teams, I've got Uzbekistan. They've got a fellow up top, I think Shamar Rudov. Butchered again, apologies. But yeah, I think they'll be looking to him. Their best player is probably no doubt Kuzanov, the centre back from Man City. So yeah, I don't know if you'd kind of expect much from them when their best player is a centre half. And then lastly, Group L, I have first England. Player to watch out for, Nico O'Reilly. I really think this guy is top drawer. He's going to be playing left back, and he's going to be tested now against some of best right wingers. So it's kind of, I'm going to be interested to see kind of how he handles that task. But no doubt, like, on the ball, like, he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, looking out for him. Second place, I have Croatia. Very experienced team when it comes to World Cups and that. You're going to be looking at Modric. I don't think Brozovic is there now, but they still have Kovacic, Kramaric, like all the itches that you can think of. So yeah, I've got them second. I've actually got a player to watch out for them is Bayern Munich player Stanisic. He usually plays fullback, but he's far from a fullback. He's more of like a winger, like a wing back. And I've actually been impressed with him a few times that I've seen him play, even in the games against PSG there in the Champions League this season. I actually think he stood out a lot with his forward runs and stuff, his directness. Third spot, I've got Ghana, and again, kind of with the Irish connection, they've got what I believe is their third choice goalkeeper in Joseph Anang, and he plays for St. Pat's in the League of Ireland, which is mad, and he's going to be at the World Cup. Probably won't get minutes, but fair play. You're looking at Semenyo there, Naki Williams, IU. Again, I have Ghana finishing third and going through as one of the best placed third finishes. Lastly, then Panama. They actually played in the World Cup in 2018 and they finished bottom. But the only thing I know about Panama is Prison Break. I'll be honest with you, I don't know anything about Panama, so don't ask me about Panama. But yeah, I have them last. So yeah, that kind of wraps it up really. It's the beauty of the World Cup really is like half these predictions probably going to age terribly, but look, I mean that's what predictions are. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and subscribe for some more football content on the World Cup. And let me know your predictions in terms of who's going to make it out of the group stage and make it into the round of 32. And then yeah, I'll come back to this again and look at, does it age well when the group stage is over. Thanks for watching Let's Chat Football. I'll see you next time.